our
Mhm.
uh, our channel. Link on our channel. Uh,
Good time, dear colleagues.
Hello, good day.
hello, hello.
Hello, good morning. Good time, yeah.
Good
Good
time.
time, right?
And I started recording.
Okay.
Good time, good time. So, Diao, we are very pleased to welcome you to this Thursday, to this our socially oriented innovation conference, and we will discuss issues from different areas: psychologies, economics, and technologies for sustainable development of society and business. Together with me, this conference will be moderated by Yana Vysotskaya, who is the head of International Study Department, and Marcia Agustino Ribeira from Brasilia, organizer of U Experience. So let me
Thank
give
you.
floor, and of course with our Ludmila, representative of wide geography, Russia, Latin America, and Europe. So let me give the floor Yana Vysotskaya.
Hello, dear colleagues. It's a great pleasure for me to greet you today at the third day of the conference devoted to the socially oriented innovations. Just a few words about today's sessions. We will speak more about the competitions and joint actions and case studies. Additionally, to those topics that had been already mentioned by the previous speaker, I would like to say that we will also speak about the education, about some innovations in the education area, in the field of education. And I will introduce myself firstly about our university experience, specifically about pre-entry educational department for Russian language studying. So if we are ready to start, to be on time, not to waste our time, I would love to start my first speech and my first presentation. Um, could you, uh, Edward, could you please give me a right
Sorry,
to demonstrate the screen?
sorry. Yes, sorry, Yana.
That's okay, that's fine.
Yes.
It's evening, the end of the working day here. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so as I already mentioned, the topic of my very short introduction and the presentation is challenges of digitalization, the presentation of pre-entry department. So once again, my name is Yana Vysotskaya. I'm the head of the Department of International Educational Projects at Ural Federal University. Probably some of you already know and aware about know something about our city, but let me just give you a few more tips about us. So as you can see on the map, we are located right in the heart of Russia, on the border between Europe and Asia, which gives us some advantages in our cooperation with our partners. We are the third largest city in Russia. The first two you probably know, Moscow and St. Petersburg. And we are industrial capital of our country. The fact that metal produced in Yekaterinburg was used to make the Eiffel Tower and the Houses of Parliament and the Statue of Liberty. So you can find there a piece of Ural when you, I hope nearest day will be, all of us will be able to travel and to see these masterpieces. The citizens of our city are well known as the mayonnaise lovers, so you can find tons of mayonnaise in our city. Ural Federal University is one of the largest and the biggest university in our country. It was started in 1920, and this year we are celebrating 100 years anniversary that you probably know. Our university was established when two biggest universities were merged into one, Ural State University and Ural Technical University. And since 2008, it bears the name of Boris Yeltsin, the first president of Russia, who was the university's graduate in 1955. We have about 35,000 students, a lot of international students from 84 countries around the globe, a lot of research excellence centers, approximately 72 by the moment, and we are placed 331 position this year by QS ranking, which is one of the most internationally presented in the world. We have almost all the areas of studying at our university. We don't have only medicine and law, but all of the others, as natural sciences, social sciences, economics, business, engineering, all of it we have under our university to give students a vast variety of different directions that they can study at Ural Federal University. And closer to the topics that I would like to share with you today. Under our department, we have the preparatory department for foreign students, which basically was established in order to give the students opportunity to learn Russian language and to adapt themselves to Russian culture. By the moment, I could show you the students map. You can see that at the preparatory department, we have also students from Colombia, from Cuba, from Brazil, from Mexico, from Argentina, and from almost 64 countries all over the world. Each year, we are approximately 500 foreign students learning Russia under our department and successfully entering some Russian programs in URFU or in any other university in Russia. Usually, like generally, we have two different tracks for students to study. The first one is foundation year, which basically means that students should learn Russian language in 5 mostly recognized directions in our country: engineering, natural sciences, medicine, humanities and arts, and economics, in order further to enter some Russian language taught program on the bachelor, on the master degree level, or PhD. The second option for them is just Russian as a foreign language. So basically, this type of program is more flexible in terms of starting dates, and the fees are different, and the structure of the course is different. So they are learning only Russian language in compared to the first option, where they are also studying some specific language and specific programs designed for the field or for the direction they are going to study further on their program. After finishing the program, they can test themselves on the final exam or on the test of Russian as a foreign language, which is internationally recognized, the same as you can say IELTS or TOEFL, but for Russian language. On the screen, you can also see the suggestion to watch the video. I'm not going to show you today, but we will probably share the presentation with the participants. And if you want to check it, you can basically follow the link and to watch the video made by interview of our graduates. The course duration of each of this track is 1 academic year. So in 1 academic year, students can learn Russian language and further to enter one of the program. And everything was in the same time slot, in the same structure for us before 2020. So we were just giving on-campus learning for the students. They were just coming to us, adapting into the Russian culture, just learn the language, just practicing and testing themselves here. But unfortunately, or fortunately, who knows, starting from this year, we were adopting the remote learning, the remote and digital access to our courses, because it's a need, it's a must, I would say, for this year. So starting from this year, we are offering to the students 100% distant learning. Everything that they're doing during this option, they're doing remotely. The studying takes approximately 28 hours per week, same as they are practicing during their on-campus learning. But the only exception is that they are staying at their home, at their countries, not visiting our campus. So as the main topic of my speech is challenges of digitalization, I will tell you a couple of more words about this distant pre-entry department. So we are starting this experience this year from the spring semester of 2020, from February of 2020, and the structure of the course by the moment is as following: that at least 12 hours of online webinars per week, our students studying with their professors and teachers in the groups, that we are dividing them according to their level of knowledges of Russian language. It can be 0, A1, A2, B1 or B2 or even higher, but very rare. So approximately 6 webinars per week. 16 hours of independent remote work, so their home task within the platform that we are using, I will show you a little bit later, they're making by themselves. Teachers explain during the webinars and covers almost all aspects, not almost, but all aspects of the language, including vocabulary, grammar, writing, reading, listening, and speaking, of course. So here on the right side of the screen, on the image, on the picture, you can see the how it looks like actually. Sorry that it's Russian language, but our students, they are learning Russian language. That's why the interface is in Russian. But you can see like the structure of the lectures, like the lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, first week of their studying, second, and so on and so forth. As I already mentioned, 28 academic hours a week they're spending via webinars or via this platform that we are using. So individually, they work on the platform. You can see on the left side the address of this platform, exam2.urfu.ru. So here, through this platform, they're making the home task, they're tracking the progress, they're making the some individual works and the tests. The steps that we made in order to design this distant pre-entry department. The first step, of course, we built the structure of each lessons for each level, for level 0, for level A1, for level A2, B1, and B2, and made the tasks and the tracks and the materials week by week. The structure depends on the week and the lessons depends on the week. So week 1, week 2, etc. We downloaded the task on the Moodle. Moodle is the platform that we are using for the distant learning. Section formation within the course structure. We created the videos, the online videos for training for students for each of the aspect of language, for writing, for grammar, for different speech situations, the dialogues, and so on and so forth, and the simulators, how they can practice their language. And the third step was the creation of supporting materials, different diagrams, tables, illustration, lexicon, presentation, and so on and so forth. So by the moment, I would say that all the time we are trying to make it better, but generally these are the structure that we are using by the moment, and it helps us to avoid the situation that unfortunately, for example, the Zoom that we are using today for the conference, we cannot use in some other countries, and our students are the international students. And we should follow all the aspects and peculiarities of the work with them. So we needed to choose the platform that will be more or less affordable for the students from all over the world. That's why our internal one, the Moodle, was chosen in order to avoid these aspects and to work with all the students. Additionally, I would like to tell just a few words about some short-term programs that we are doing as like summer schools, winter schools, some internships. Generally, we are making it on the project-based learning. We're also moved into online mode. And this year we are making it in the digital world, using different interfaces, but for it, we are using such programs as Discord, as Zoom, and so on. And the practices, depending on the labs or only practical work, we are making using different virtual labs and programs and software. So thank you for your attention. If you may have any questions, I think you can ask them right after my session or afterwards. If it will come up into your mind, or you can contact me through our admission office email, telephone, or visit our website to know more about us and to formate your opinion or maybe for further cooperation. So thank you very much for the attention.
Yana, thank you very much for your really very impressive presentation. And have you, dear colleagues, have you any questions?
I have a question, please.
Yes, sure.
Yana, thank you for your report, and I have 2 questions.
Okay.
The first, do foreign students participate in innovative activities at the university? And the second question, is their language training sufficient for this? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. May I clarify the first one? What do you mean by the innovation work? Under the short-term courses or under the language trainings, for which one?
Both?
Both. Okay, all right.
If it's possible, both, please.
Okay. For the Russian language studying, actually, I think that it was challenging not only for us as the organizers, for the teachers and so on, but for them as well. So this approach and moving them into online mode was innovation for them as a whole. I mean, as the approach itself. So they were overcoming it, they were overcoming some barriers, but the language I would say, according to the approach from the professor, from the teacher's side, it was very difficult because, you know, language requires the to be in this sphere, to be in the country, to communicate every day with the language speakers, with native language speakers. But unfortunately, they didn't. By the moment they don't have this opportunity, that's why we're trying to give them as much materials, as much video, because video take a biggest role, I would say, in this case, because of course they're having webinars, but it's not covering their each day's request. That's why video cover it so they can watch it anytime they want. Mm-hmm. Speaking about the short-term programs, I will give you an example. For example, in October, we organized 2 programs. The first one was with the joint programs of Ural Federal University and Siemens. And our students, they were make as the main approach of our programs is project-based learning. So itself, it's supposed to have some practical work. And it's a little bit complicated, you know, for some of the areas. But fortunately, for example, for information technology, for computer science, for some more or less digitalized and I would say pre-prepared for such situation areas, it was not that challenging because we were using software, we were using remote access to it and so on and so forth. Were having webinars, we were dividing into the different rooms for group work, we were tracking them and so on and so forth. Also there were the track for cybersecurity. Speaking about, for example, we're also having an internships with the students from France, and it was the topic for energy sector. That was a little bit more challenging. But these programs were supported by Erasmus Plus funding, and they were organizing the virtual lab in advance. I don't know how they were foreseeing that something like this will happen, or I don't know, but they were having this remote access to the virtual lab and they were practicing their work through this virtual lab. So I would say by the moment that the only thing that we missed and we don't know how to organize it is the practical work in industries. This is very challenging. Because previous times we were coming with the groups of students in the industry, we were showing them the machine, especially for mechanical engineering, for example. But now, unfortunately, we don't know yet how to implement it and how to organize it. The only thing that we can do is the webinars, the conferences with the speakers, with the top managers and the engineers. Did I answer your question? If no, please, please
yes.
Tell me.
Thank you, Jana. Thank you for the detailed answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I see innovation is everywhere.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jana. And if we have no questions, let me give the floor our colleague from Ludmila, please.
Yes, I have the question. Yeah. If you compare the number of students pre-pandemic and now, what can you say? Whether the number is increased? We have already examples of some universities in Russia where the number of students increased, or whether decreased. It's a first question. And second question is that with the pandemic, we have actually the borders disappearing. So more and more distant education is taking place. I must say that, for instance, in Brazil, the distant education is firmly installed in many universities. Some universities are completely distant, yeah? And so pandemia didn't change much, except maybe the payment capacities of the students. So and in your university, or in actually, it's a question to everywhere. How do you think? So whether the ability of providing distant education in one of the most easy language, English, is increasing in number of students and make it easier the engagement of students, or the increasing number of students, whether it helps. And what is the situation in university? I understand that you're working in the preparatory department of Russian, yeah? But it's a question in general, whether some other people represented from other universities can share this. So what do they think about it? Because it is actually an important issue now.
Absolutely, yeah. So I will start with the one more clarification that preparatory department is the structure, the division under my department, where I had the Department of International Educational Programs. So our duties is not only preparatory departments, we are also organizing such summer schools, winter schools, and basically the educational programs which are taught in English. So yeah, so your question is straight to the point, both of them. Yeah. So answering the first question, I would say that the situation, the pandemic situation, influenced a lot on the recruitment process at all, because previously we were coming for some, exhibitions, we were showing our university, we were welcoming partners from all over the world on our international weeks and so on and so forth. And the dialogue as we are having by now, which becomes more normal, was not that normal in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
That's why, yes, that's why I would say that was a little bit more complicated in the beginning of the year to start, because everyone were hoping that it will finish in the nearest time, and we don't need to hurry, and we just need to wait. Or come on, now we know.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we know that it wasn't like this, and maybe I would say that we'll lose our time in the beginning of the year waiting that something will change. And the virtual exhibition, which is the main option for us to show ourselves and to recruit students, had been started a little bit late than the process of recruitment, usually starting and finishing, and we missed our time. Each of the federal university has some KPIs. So by the moment I can tell that our university made the KPIs. So we are having the number of students that we should have, that we supposed to have, or we must.
Yeah.
But speaking about, for example, preparatory department, it's not like this because it's different.
Yeah.
All of the students, they still want to come. And as the deadline for application for us was the 1st of November, and the next one is the 1st of February, some of them are still approaching. So they are waiting that again, the situation will change and they will download their documents and they will come. So the number of the students for preparatory department is, I would say, almost twice less by the moment. But the same number that we were having last year's is still waiting. So they are applied, but they are waiting because they want to come. They are still afraid of the distant learning and so on. That's why now we're trying to participate in that much number of different exhibitions, events, and so on and so forth, and not in order to show that it's not scaring. It's the same. They can learn language via webinars, via remote access to different platforms, and so on and so forth. And after that, to enter the university and to join the bachelor or master degree program and still practicing the language here on the campus when it will be possible for them. So for us, this is the only way. And you are absolutely right. The payment capacity becomes lower. And the students, they're waiting that we will reduce the prices, the tuition fees, but it's very difficult because we need to make this work for online courses and it also pays some money. It's not for free. This is the difference. And professors, the same idea as they're having the lectures on campus, the same, they're spending their time having the lectures virtually. It's the same time slots. There is no difference. And I think that by the moment, this is the same, the most barrier that we have. The tuition fees, we are not going to reduce them. They are at the same level, but the students are not ready to pay for it because of different reasons. Because of payment capacity, because they're not understanding that it's the same, workload for all the sites. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you,
Thank
Yana.
Thank you.
And you have any questions? Now let me give the floor to the representative from EU Experience, Marcia Agostini Ribeiro. Yes, Marcia?
Yes, hi, good
Per
time.
favor.
And thank you, Edward. First of all, I would like to thank you and Ludmila for the invitation to be here and take part in this conference. It's a great pleasure to be here with all of you and all the partners. And I would like also to thank the audience to be here with us today. And before I start my short presentation, I would like also to thank Yana for her presentation. It's it was very nice to know everything that you are putting on in your university, and I'm sure we will be in contact. I think there are a lot of things we can do together, and I hope so. Also just answering what Ludmila asked about this, and also starting with my short presentation. We are actually, EU Experience is a network of Brazilian institutions that are aiming to increase their international relationship with other institutions and also to present themselves to the world. And this pandemic, of course, nobody was expecting, and we tried to squeeze out of it opportunities. And what we think, Ludmila, that was actually an opportunity are things like that we are doing today. We are now here and a lot of institutions together, and we can, it's a little bit easier to make these connections. We don't have to travel, and we don't have to be 1 week or 2 weeks away. So we will stay here 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and we will learn from each other and see what we have in common and the connections that we can do. And it makes it a little bit easier. On the other hand, of course, we have problems, like Yana said, with the technologies. With some countries we can do some things, with others it's a little bit more difficult. But I think it's a learning process, and we are learning very fast. And this will make a huge change in the international relationships between, when I'm speaking about what we are working with, between the institutions and the students. And also students, they are getting used to work and to study in a distance. So I completely understand you, Yana, when you say it's difficult to learn a different language when you're not in contact with the culture, when you're not in the country, of course, this is very, very important. But it's also important to understand that once we develop some possibilities to learn this from a distance, we can embrace more students. It's not easy for a student to travel, let's say, to Russia or China or United States or wherever from Brazil. And it's easier if they have this contact from a distance. It's not the same, but it is a possibility, and we can then embrace more students. And that's what we are working with at UExperience, to try to bring for the institutions, as we say, internationalization at home. So to bring inside the institutions the contact with this other countries and other cultures. And this is very, very important. And of course, for us at UExperience, we were just starting. UExperience is a network which began its work in 2019, at the beginning of 2019. So we had 1 year of life when the pandemic struck us. And we had a lot of plans of taking our students and also our professors to other institutions and traveling to be in contact with other institutions abroad. And of course, that was not possible. But on the other hand, then we very fast, we decided to do it, to try to bring it for us, for our institutions inside them, with webinars and with conferences and planning things that the students and the institutions could do from a distance. So right now, for example, we will have in December our first international student symposium, where students from our institutions, from Brazil, and also from other institutions, from other 8 institutions around the world, will present their thesis and their final course thesis as their first contact with a conference, and also that they can present it and make a presentation for other countries. And that's something that was possible to do. And I think it will be a very great, we will do it every year again, because it's very nice to give this possibility to the students to have this contact with other institutions from a distance. Another thing that we are also planning for 2021 is that we, in our first year at UExperience, as we have, right now we have 26 institutions in our network. They are all Brazilian institutions, and they are very different from each other. We have institutions with 500 students and institutions with 10,000 students, or 7,500 and so on. And some of them had already a internationalization department. Others were just at the beginning and they didn't have anything. They didn't know, they didn't have documentations and anything they have to start with it from the beginning. So in this first year, we were preparing our institutions actually for this step to be in contact with internationalization. And one of the things that we really, we realized that it is an issue for all the institutions is the language. So that's something that you experiences also preparing for our institutions. We are offering for all of them a platform, a language platform, totally digital for 22 languages. So the students will choose and they can learn from a distance. Of course, as Jana said, it's not easy. And it's an effort that the students must do, because they can access the platform 24 hours a day, 7 days in the week, but they must access if they want to learn. So this is something that it's up to the students, but we are offering this possibility. Brazil is not a bilingual country. We all can speak Portuguese, but it's it's not like let's say 60% or 50% of the students could speak English, which is I would say it's a world language, but that's not the case in Brazil. We would say it's like 5% to 10%, and that's an issue when you want to go international, when you want to present your work in conferences, when you want your students to be in contact with other countries. So that's something that you experience is working very hard, that our students will have this possibility to learn this language. And from a distance, what we are planning that they will do to improve their language skills also when they are speaking is that we will do a lot of webinars, and so that they can be in contact and speak as we are doing right now via Zoom or any other platform that will enable them to speak in another language and to present their work and to be in contact with the world. So that's something that UExperience does. And another thing that we also do, our institutions are also planning a lot of actions and activities to bring students from other institutions to Brazil, if not presential, also digitally and from a distance. And for example, we have we called it CESUPA Amazon Experience. It's a very nice project from one of our institutions that is located in Belém do Pará, which is in the Amazon region. And it's a practical, the international students together with Brazilian students, they will work together to solve problems in the Amazon region, to develop sustainable products for the region. And this is it's a beautiful project, and it's very nice to have this possibility even from a distance. They visit the industries, they visit the Amazon region, of course, with the camera, and they are showing, and they are, but the students can see, the international students can see the region, and they can understand how it is, so they can actually come up with a product for the group. So I'm sorry, I guess I've talked too much. I don't know if I just blowed my time. But I thank you again for the opportunity to explain a little bit of what UExperience is aiming to do in the international field with our institutions here. Thank you. Thank you, Edward. If you may have any questions, I'm at your disposal.
Thank you very much. It was really nice to listen to you. It was, you even listed such an interesting cases about your university, and I feel that we are having a lot of things in common. So we really look forward for the further discussion and communication. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Yana.
Yeah, and a small comment that yes, it is challenging times for sure, but the opportunities that are provided by this time are enormous. I always like when I look at the opportunities that modern students have, I really jealous. If I were this 20, 18 years old, I would do this and this and this and all of this without leaving home. So I think it is beautiful. Yeah, thank you very much. Here, we are all in the yellow submarine. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I would say that it's a very creative time. So.
Yes.
Yana, I see Professor Jose Pablo Nuno from Mexico.
Yes, Nuno, yeah.
Nuno, sorry, would you like introduce us?
Yes, of course. Let me then step up for our next speaker. Professor Jose Pablo Nuno de la Parra, General Director of Internalization at the Universidad Popular Autónoma del Estado de Puebla. Professor Jose Pablo Nuno de la Parra, if you are ready to start.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everybody. Well, good afternoon. Actually, Dobry din Drosia.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, right over there?
Yes. Yes. It's afternoon.
Because at the beginning I said good morning, but it's Dobry din, right?
Yes. Dobry din also fine.
Very well. Well, it's a pleasure, and I really thank Jana very much for inviting me, and to all of you. Your university, Orfo, is really very special for us. I just wanted to say just very briefly that the relationship that we have with your university, thanks to the work that Jana has been doing lately in the last years, it's the most important relationship that we have. There's another university in the United States that we do a lot of relationships with, and Rural Federal University, it's just it's as important. So we're very proud, and this is thanks to all the effort that Jana and her team have been doing lately. Well, let me share with you my screen, if it's okay. Let's see. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. So today I'm gonna speak to you about a very interesting topic that has to do with double degrees as a strategy for a student's choice. And before I get into the detail, yes. Can you hear? Can you listen to me? And can you see the presentation?
Yeah? Yes. You're audible and the presentation is perfect. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let me go ahead, and in order to develop these double degree programs, there is something very, very interesting, very important that we have to discuss first, and that's well, I'm from Puebla. Before I start, let me just say, I'm from Puebla. It's a city that is located in the heart of Mexico City. It's the fourth largest city in Mexico City, and well, actually in Mexico. And we have a population in the city of about 2 million inhabitants. And it's considered to be like a student center in Mexico. These are just some pictures of our cathedral, which is beautiful, the downtown, that Jana has been around. This is the modern part of the city. And we have two beautiful volcanoes around. Actually, one of them is active. It's not exploding, but it's pretty active still. And this is our university. This is the view of the university. It's in downtown. So you're very close to a lot of beautiful sites. Okay, let me give you a context, as I was telling you, before we get into the double degrees. I like to tell you why this is important. And we did a very interesting research and feedback from organizations in different sectors. And what they are telling us that they demand flexible, interdisciplinary, and adaptable competencies in the changing world right now. And this is leading to a change in the paradigm to actually the design of the programs of study, because in order to come to a dual degree, you need to work from the design of your programs of study in order to satisfy the demands that the organizations in the real world are asking. So, and actually, this is determining the way the universities are being restructured. So, first, I wanted to let you know, for example, that in the programs of study that we have been developing and that I see other universities are developing in order to do a dual degrees, they consider, when you have a problem, if you look down to this box here, to the red box, when you have a problem or a requirement or opportunity, usually it requires different competencies and in order to solve in an integral way the solution of the problem. So you need a very collaborative work. So the programs of study have to be designed with that in mind, having different competencies in different areas. So for example, this program of study here is composed by different competency areas, and the competency areas are composed of different knowledge areas. So I can leave this presentation with Jana, but this is very important because this sets the foundations in order to work out the dual degrees that we have in place. So what we did then was to develop an interdisciplinary graduate center with this in mind, with what the actually organizations were telling us, and they were requiring a lot of innovation and the programs being flexible and the students having, this is very important, the students having flexibility in order to adapt to the changing world and actually being interdisciplinary. So what we came up was with the student actually focus, so with tailor-based programs, and basically with that in mind, then we were able to develop eventually what we call the double degrees. And the other characteristic that the organizations were telling us is that they wanted the students to have an international experience and to have the international component. Then we came up with this creative internationalization type of strategies, and this is kind of a dual degree, but this is at the undergrad level. I'm going to get later to the graduate programs, but I wanted to tell you first of this very creative idea that we came up with, and we call them bridge programs or accelerated programs. And we started with this around 4 years ago. And now in the world, they are being calling it 4+1 programs. But at the end, what happens is that a student that is studying an undergraduate degree, they stay for 3.5 years studying at their home university. And then during the 4th year, they take at the host institution, in the international institution, and it could be even virtual. They can take undergrad classes, but at the same time, they can take master classes as exchange students. And then if they get good grades, then they go back to their home country, or even if it's virtual, because now they are doing it this way. And when they finish the undergrad degree, they get the degree with the classes they took at the beginning of the year. And then they complete during the 5th year the master's program. So that's a very interesting and creative way to help the student to actually accomplish not only the undergrad, but the master's degree. And we're about to start that also with you in Ekaterinburg. And we have this in place with several universities in the United States, with Europe and South America now. Well, but let me get into the dual degrees, in the double degrees at the graduate level. And first of all, as I was telling you at the beginning, the relationship that we have had with Oro Federal University has been very fulfilling. And we have double degrees with you and along with other ones. But what is a double degree? At the end, these programs of study that I was telling you that are flexible and interdisciplinary allow students to actually get this double degree, since the program is flexible and interdisciplinary, so they can validate their classes that they take during the master's level, during the first year of the master's, in the master's program that the student chooses to do in overseas or in another university. And the same thing with the bridge. If the undergraduate programs are flexible, then this bridge idea, it's doable. So at the end, a double degree, what happens is that you stay 1 year at home and then 1 year at the host institution. And we are starting to do that also virtually, as I was telling you, but we've done it a lot actually on site. So at the end, what happens is that you get 2 degrees, one from each institution, fulfilling the requirements of both universities. And in the first phase, as I was saying, the student participates in the home university where he or she is studying, taking 6 to 8 courses. And then during the second phase, the student actually goes to the partner university to take the rest of the master's degree that the student chooses, and it could be a related field. And this is usually what I recommend, to take a dual degree in a related field, not in the same degree, but in a related one, so that they can end up having 2 masters related at the end. And then we'll have a third phase, and some universities require, in order to complete the degree, to do either a project. Sometimes they require a thesis, or sometimes they require I would say, a capstone course. That's how it's called, a capstone course, where the student actually completes the requirements of the host university. So what are the advantages and benefits of these double degrees? Well, at the end, you gain a lot of competencies, intercultural competencies, highly valuable in the market right now. And this is something that I was telling you at the beginning. Actually, companies are looking for that. That's why we develop also this. And then you have an opportunity to expand your professional career with 2 complementary degrees. As I was telling you, it's interesting to do like complementary degrees, not exactly the same ones, from different countries. And it helps you to advance in your career goals. Actually, usually most of our students are getting much better salaries having these dual degrees, and it helps you also to be an entrepreneur and sometimes having partners from other places. And because you develop a network of friends to expand your global reach in your related fields of interest. And actually, you gain an advantage by having these 2 master's degrees, not only one, and to expand or implement projects in more countries, because we have some students that go, for example, to Spain, and they end up doing a project in Asia, or they go to the United States and they end up doing another program in South America or Central America. So at the end, you get a more broad education. And in the future, this is something interesting. Your relatives, your friends, maybe siblings or family, we have a special treatment at that university. Actually, you may get maybe a special cost because you, as a parent, for example, in my case, I am getting a special deal with my daughter that she's studying now in the United States. So you have a very, very interesting benefits when you do degrees overseas. And in this case, this is affordable and it has a special meaning. In our example, and let me just tell you that we have 108 double degrees and with some options online, but we have around 25 universities in different parts of the world where we are actually doing these double degrees, these dual degrees. And I could go into maybe details of this, but I don't want to just take that much time, but just, for example, to let you know that, for example, with respect to Ural Federal University, we have around 21 options. A student, for example, at UPAEP in Puebla, they could be studying a master's in marketing and management. And at Ural Federal University, they could be getting a master's degree, for example, in international human resource management, or a master's in program and global management. Or in international trade. They can choose the field. So what I usually tell them is, if you're studying marketing, don't go to Russia and get exactly the marketing program, but maybe get one in international trade, which is a related field. And we have many other options, as you can see. We even have now dual degrees at the doctoral level, and we are starting to do that with other countries as well. And so these are, for example, some of our students that have been there at Ural, with Jana taking we have 98 students that have actually done some sort of studies in Ekaterinburg, and most of them dual degrees, some of them with summer stays, but most of them having dual degrees, as I was telling you. For example, with Oklahoma State, I don't know what happened here, why I have some scratches there, I'm sorry. But for example, with Oklahoma State University, which is a very good university in the United States, we have around 50 options, that students can go. For example, if a student is taking a master's in logistics and supply chain management, they can go to Oklahoma State and get a master's degree in industrial engineering. When they are working, for example, here in a master's in strategy, they can choose between 1, 2, 3, 4 options. They can do an MBA, or they can do a master's in industrial engineering, so they can choose the related field. So they stay 1 year in Puebla or at UPAEP, and then 1 year in the United States. And actually, you get a special deal when you work with this, because you get a special tariffs. For example, with Ural Federal University, we have special tariffs, and also in the United States, we get treated as if our students were also residents in the United States. So instead of costing them, for example, 1 year, $23,000, then they only pay $10,000, which is much better for them. And so at the end, just to conclude my brief presentation, is that I firmly believe that the potential of this academic program resides in the innovation strategy and contemplating interdisciplinarity, flexibility, and internationalization. In other words, having tailor-made programs to allow each person to exploit her or his talents in collaboration with other disciplines. And I say this on purpose, in a global world, because right now we're working locally, but at the same time we're working with different places. So the term global, I'm using it now a lot, by being global and at the same time local, to actually develop local expertise, and at the same time developing global expertise. So Jana, I think that with this is a very brief presentation, but maybe within this we can allow time for questions.
Yes, thank you very much, Pablo, for your presentation. It was really a pleasure to see the experience of UPAEP. Especially thank you for the examples with Ural Federal University. Thank you. Yes, we sincerely believe that we will continue the same success story with your university, with your esteemed university. And dear audience, if you may have any questions, please feel free. I think it's right time to ask. Yes, I already see the first hand. Please.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Please, microphone, your microphone. Yes, the mic.
You? Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Hello, Pablo. Thank you very much. Very interesting presentation. Thank you. My question is that, as I see that you have this double diplomas and sandwich probably diplomas too with many universities, can you say, in average, how long does it take to make an agreement with a foreign university? Like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months?
Well, this is a good question. Actually, if you have like the passion to do this, for example, just to give you the example with Ural, it was so fast. In my case, for example, I'm the director of the international area, and I signed them just after meeting. After meeting them, I signed them. I think it took us maybe a month and a half or so just for the signatures. No. It was maybe the hard part is in actually working with the academia in order for them to actually develop the dual degrees. But what we have found with China and other universities is that we usually work for a specific student, a specific dual degree. So what we're doing now is we are signing, this is the new approach that I recommended you to do that, and this is much faster. Because we used to do all the matching of the classes in order to have a complete, very complete match of this class with this other one. But what we're doing now is that now we trust in each other, and we sign a very comprehensive agreement saying that we are going to work in dual degrees geared towards a specific student. So a student comes to me and says, I want to do a dual degree with Russia, with Ural, for example. And so they take classes here, and we talk to the academia at the university with China, and we develop the specific program for the specific student. So instead of working everything and taking 6 or 8 months to develop, because it used to take us a lot of time. Now, for example, a student wants to do a dual degree in a new university in Turkey. So then we talk to the university in Turkey, and usually they are interested in developing, for example, the dual degree. And because for some special interested student wants to go to Turkey, so they spend 1 year here. We talk to the university over there, and we design the specific program. And usually it's taking us. Sometimes it takes us maybe 2 days, some 3 days, sometimes 3 days not to do it. Sometimes it takes us 2 months, no? So it's variable, but I will say that it doesn't take time alone if you already have in place the will from the both universities to work together in helping the students to get both degrees. No? So we're getting to that level. No?
So do I understand correctly that in your case, the strategy is not from the top down to students saying like, hi guys, we have so many universities for you to choose, but you work in reverse. So if
Exactly.
the students say that, wow, I would love to study here in India, then you start your work exactly for these students, yeah?
Yeah, like we do both because we already have in place several programs. So sometimes the students go and choose because in order, for example, with the United States, especially in the United States, in order to get a special fare, in order to get a special cost, we already did that, and we have done it for now 16 years. No, so we have that in place. And sometimes a student comes and tells me, Pablo, I want to study this dual degree in finance. And maybe let's say that we don't have that program, but we have the administrative part already worked out because we developed that some time ago. And for that specific program, then we work the way you're saying. Then we work with the student. We have the administrative part already built. And especially with universities that cost a lot. And so when the cost is high, then we do this negotiation in order for them to decrease the cost, no? And the same thing happens with many other universities. So they usually, students always look at the balance. No, yes, this university is helping me, but at the same time, I can afford to go and pay that, no? So we work both ways. When we have the conditions, for example, in France, universities are very, I would say, affordable. Usually they don't cost much. So that part is not an issue. So we usually do exactly what you're saying. We work with the student. They are interested in going to one university that we already have the agreement. And if we don't have it, then we build it. Because actually we have all these because of the students. No?
So
students
you are customs care service. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and you are federal university or you are a private university?
We're a private. We look like a public because our name is, it's a long name, but it says popular in the middle. No, it's a private university, but we are open to everybody, and we usually we don't get support from the government. So at the end, we get support from federal agencies when we have very good programs. For example, when students go to foreign countries, they get help from the federal agencies when they do these dual degrees, you know, because they know that we have the arrangements. But yeah, we're a private university.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm sure we will make contacts.
Yes, of course, Luda.
thank
Marcia,
you.
or yes, go ahead, Edward, or Marcia.
Yes. May
Yes, please.
I
Jump
ask?
in. Yes, jump in.
Yes.
And now
Thank
we,
you.
we have switched to Cuba. Ginli.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
Edward. Edward,
Just-
Sorry.
we are having one more question. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
Mhm.
Yana.
It's one in a row. I have actually. It was. Thank you, Jose Pablo. It was a great presentation, and I'm very, of course, very interested. And I have some questions. Do you do this double degrees, as I understood? It's also the other way around. The
Yes.
students from the other countries, they also come and
Exactly.
do the other way around. So they are all in English, or you have also those masters in Spanish, for example?
Well, that's a good question. That's something that we really need to work out much more. So we have some classes in English. We don't have full programs in English yet. But for example, Jana got a degree. Jana got a degree here at UPAEP. And she was able to do it because then we chose the classes that were taught in English. No, so at the end, we still have that to go. But we've been able to work that out and actually offer the classes that the student needs in English. No, so sometimes we don't have the full program, but we convince the students because in our case, for example, most of the professors at in the grad programs, they speak English. No? So we have to convince them, okay, teach your class in English because you're going to have Jana in Russia
in your
taking the
class.
class. No? Yeah, sometimes we have people from France. So yeah, so it's in both directions, yes.
Okay. And you usually do, for example, if I send 3 students to Jana, she should send you 3 students also?
No.
Or there's no problem?
No, yeah, yeah, that's something that we did it on purpose. As we don't keep balances, so we just let the student go and
Choose.
work freely.
Okay. And now the last question, do you have also agreements with Brazilian institutions?
Oh yes, yeah. We don't have dual degrees yet, so we can do it with you, of course.
We will work on that, yes.
We have a lot of relationships. We have a lot of exchanges with universities. In what university are you in? Where's your university?
Actually, we have 26 institutions in our network.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm
That's
sure
great.
they're all private institutions also. And
Okay.
I'm sure we will work out with our institutions some program, yes.
I can maybe leave my mail here in the chat.
Yes,
I'm going to
please.
leave my mail for you to take a look, and I'll be glad to do an agreement with you and with Luda and with anybody that, because we're very open to extend the relationships to whoever is interested.
Great, that's the goal. Thank you, Jose Pablo and Edward, please.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. You can now see the email of Jose Pablo Nuño de la Parra in the chat. Please feel free to contact if you have any questions.
You can call me Pablo. It's easy.
Yeah, it's easy. Yeah, Pablo. Yeah, sure.
Pablo. Yeah.
Of
Okay.
course, dear colleagues, sorry.
Yes. I think if we don't have any more questions, I personally have a lot of questions to Pablo, like the tons of questions, but I will ask it then after all, because we need to move further. We have a lot of other presenters waiting for the next.
Jan, after conference, we not closed Zoom communication,
Yes.
And we can continue our
discussion. Yeah.
Of course, so dear colleagues, if you would like, you can change your context by chat. And now we are switched to Cuba. Dear Ginli, could you help me and present next speaker, Dr. Luis Antonio Ginli? Yeah, Ginli.
Yes.
Could you present next speaker from Cuba, Dr. Luis Antonio Barbosa Oliveira? And sorry me for 2 minutes.
Okay. Here with us for our conference is the Dr. Luis Antonio Barranco Olivera. He is our first vice rector, and he is speaking about an important experience in Cuba related with the possibility to put a face against the vulnerability in the production of food. It's here. He has his presentation already.
Good morning to all the participants. I'm going to share an experience that the Universidad Central Marta Abreu de las Villas have been undertaking in the last 15 years, which consists of an international collaboration project that we have named Local Agricultural Innovation Program, PIL, for its acronym in Spanish, and has been financed by the Swiss Agency on Development and Cooperation. This project has been led by the National Institute of Agricultural Sciences, and with it, 12 Cuban universities and other research centers and state central administration organizations have participated. The initial ideas of this project arose through a team of researchers, professors, and students of agricultural science who faced with the real demand of food that existed in Cuba at the beginning of the special period in the 90s. Hence, we aim to provide a great genetic diversity that was in our research centers in such a way that it would reach the Cuban plate. And in essence, we began to work, and let's say that the fundamental point of this project has been the issue of both botanical and agamic seed, depending on whether all the genetic base that it is in at the university and research centers reaches the productive practice, and that in then becomes the necessary food for the people. This was evaluated by sociologists, psychologists, communicators, and a group of people began to approach us, and then a beautiful experience began, which today constitutes a good example of an interdisciplinary experience in which everyone's knowledge allows us to deal with the fundamental issues of the project. One of the fundamental elements with respect to this genetic and technological diversity is linked to knowledge, for example, with respect to the issue of agricultural extension. We start from the foundation that nobody knows everything. True, it's not held by some research or teachers, not those who manage this diversity, but that in this productive sector of peasants and producers, there is also a lot of knowledge, and that serves as feedback in function of that social practice. The fundamental objective of the PIL project has been precisely to create a local agricultural innovation system in Cuba, known by its acronym as CIEL. But what elements or principles does this system fundamentally have? First, the fundamental principle of participation, to which I referred previously. The issue of collective leadership and the sharing of knowledge. Those elements constitute some of the fundamental principles on which we have based the entire platform on which we have been working. This, together with some other fundamental elements that have to do with the social organization of innovation, essential in this type of practice, and the innovation management cycle related to learning and action issues, are key elements in the project. There are very interesting experiences from some Cuban universities, including our own university, known as coexistence, which is nothing more than internships that students of different branches do. We usually do it with students of agronomy, sociology, sociocultural studies, social communication, journalism, and tourism, who go to a specific community and do their internships for 15 days, living with those farmers and producers, applying a group of instruments, surveys, and others, living at their homes, eating at their homes, doing all the daily tasks, and finally, they go back to college. Those students come back with added value in terms of value formation. Therefore, from the student's point of view, it has been one of the strengths of our project. And of course, capacities are created to apply principles and good practices as good spaces for socialization at the national and international level. More than 100 producers, students, and teachers have participated in the project, and international gatherings have taken place, especially from Latin America, where many of these people have come to our country and our province to see these coexisting experiences. Now, how the system is organized, how is the social organization of the components of innovation in the system. This starts from and is the basis of the elements of the universe of productive forms and the social organization of agricultural production in Cuba, that at the same time originates in the South-South Cooperation, or SSC, that are private production structures on Earth organized by social production. The CPA, by its acronym in Spanish, that are agricultural production cooperative, where the land is owned by the state but is also exploited, and the basic units of cooperative production, which are structures of the socialist state enterprise that complement each other in the productive base. That is the basic principle of this system, organized at the same time through local innovation groups known as YIEL, which deal with related topics. There are issues related to yield, for example, linked to agroecology, soil conservation, and the conservation of foods that are transformed and used in the presence of complex climatic organisms such as hurricanes, if we refer to our context. We analyze how these foods can be transformed and preserved for a certain moment. In other words, these years are organized by related themes depending on the existing needs, and then, in the Cuban context, this is organized at the local or municipal government level in a multi-stakeholder management platform, which at the same time coordinates all decisions to be made at the municipal level. Therefore, the entire cell of the system is assembled at the municipal level, which is the simplest administrative structure we have in the Cuban context. Of course, this cell is immersed in a provincial context and in a national context where today we can say that all the elements of the political will also arise as a function of agri-food and nutritional education system that the government has at hand. Therefore, there is a favorable political context to develop the system. On that we base the system fundamentally. From here, we have been obtaining a group of results based on the application of the system, as I said, for more than 15 years in 45 municipalities from 10 provinces of the country, where this innovation system is available in different degrees of development, which will contribute to the implementation of the planned food self-sufficient programs. That is the high priority in Cuba, the goal of achieving food self-sufficient systems. More than 8,000 producers have received genetic diversity, say plants or animals, knowing their technology as well, which has allowed an increase in production, yields, and an increase in jobs and family income. Another important element addressed in the project is the issue of gender, equity, and equality. These are issues that we have also been working on, showing the participation of children, circles of interest in agroecology, and additional motivations so that young people are interested in studying agricultural academic courses and are linked to food-producing farms. All these aspects constitute elements strongly worked on in the project. More than 95 local seed banks have been created. Therefore, they no longer have to be looked for in a provincial territory, but they are in their own context with improved seeds that are introduced into the system in addition to the native seeds that are a result of the knowledge of grandparents and parents on those farms and that are tested in those countries. There is an increase in several varieties, especially when we talk about beans, corn, chickpeas, and this is also an essential component when we talk about working in terms of food self-sufficiency. We have also a proliferation of small agri-industries that, as I explained in the Cuban context, the issue of food preservation is a crucial component in the presence of complex natural phenomena such as hurricanes. An example of this is that fruits can be preserved in a very simple artisanal ways. And finally, returning to the issue of gender and equity, women have also had a very important value with respect to the aforementioned elements. These are the elements that we have been working on during all this time, and that allows to conclude that the local agricultural innovation system has evidently become a political and practical opportunity for its implementations. since all agricultural production systems have been diversified, as in the case of the seed production. For us, it has been a new philosophy of work, where especially from the agricultural sciences, social sciences, technical sciences, renewable energy, communication, and tourism relate to one another. In other words, this is also an element that in a multidisciplinary university like ours has been linked to work. A social economic approach is also perceived from the work with children, young people, and women. This has become a key element which reaffirms the sustainability process in the context of food production in Cuba. Another very important component has been the work connections at the national and international level established from the project. As I said, many Cuban universities are also connected to their own production systems, but these systems are also linked to the bodies of central government, to municipal governments, and to popular councils, with this being one of the fundamental dynamics. And another element of success that the system has had is that it has never exported a single recipe for construction in a different context than the one that has been taking place. The project has had a degree of geographic growth. We can say that it started in 2 Cuban provinces, and to date it has been implemented in 10 provinces. Therefore, it has been adapting to the real conditions of each province, and that has been key. Therefore, it has been adapting to the real conditions of each province, and that has been key. All this fosters a context, let's say a practical way out, which consists of generating more quality products and foods for the Cuban people.
Hello, hello.
Okay.
Okay. Questions, please? Oh, Ludmila.
Yeah, very interesting report. Thank you very much. I know one project here in Russia, or one of the university that is working in a similar area, and it could be interesting to unite you together. I will certainly pass the information about you to them. Thank you very much.
Ok, sin problema, podemos intercambiar y tenemos varias universidades latinoamericanas, europeas que han estado intercambiando con el proyecto.
Yes, it will be a pleasure. We have joint projects with some other universities in Europe, and we are very open and willing to work together in order to innovate. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, Edward, there in the
Yes.
chat, there is a comment, and it is very important comment about the presentations to put on site after the conference is finished. I think we need to do it for sure. And please, we address to every presenter to send us to the email Conference International mailroom all your presentations, so that your contact details, the information about your project, about your institution will be placed in one place, and so that every participant will have an access.
Of course, if speakers agree, we will spread presentation. For example, I am completely agree, and I will spread my presentation after conference.
Sure, we agree. Yeah.
Yes.
We agree.
If you
Yes,
agree, you can
please.
send me presentation, and I will spread box with presentation for all participants with contacts.
I mentioned here the in chat the Conference International mailroom, so you can send it there.
So we continue our conference and waiting Dr. Georgina Alfonso, Georgina Alfonso from Cuba, Philosophy Institute, President of Social Science Agency from Cuba.
Okay, good morning. Me gustaría presentarme. Soy la doctora Meli González y mi campo de especialidad son las ciencias filosóficas. Ocupo hoy el lugar de mi colega, la doctora Georgina Alfonso, para exponer algunas experiencias que tributan a una visión solidaria y cooperada del trabajo y la economía.
I would like to introduce myself. I am Dr. Meli González, and my field of expertise is philosophical sciences. Today I'm replacing Dr. Georgina Alfonso, which is not here for her problems. And I'm here today to present some experiences that contribute to solidarity and cooperative vision of work and economy.
Las experiencias que queremos mostrar se extienden desde La Habana a la región central de Cuba, como parte de la red de trabajo solidario y cooperado abierta por el Instituto de Filosofía de Cuba y donde colaboramos un grupo de colegas del Centro de Estudios Comunitarios de la Universidad Central de Las Villas.
The experiences that we want to show extend from Havana to the central region of Cuba as part of the Solidarity and Cooperative Work Network opened by the Institute of Philosophy of Cuba, and where we collaborate as a group of colleagues from the Center of Community Studies of the Universidad Central Mataró de las Villas.
La red ha avanzado en promover y divulgar los estudios sobre trabajo, pero también ha implementado proyectos de investigación-acción que promueven el valor de la cooperación y la solidaridad en las nuevas formas de gestión en Cuba.
The network has made progress in promoting and disseminating studies on work, but it also has implemented research action projects that promote the value of cooperation and solidarity in the new forms of management in Cuba.
Queremos hacer énfasis en los valores que requiere una nueva visión del trabajo y la economía en las nuevas condiciones del socialismo cubano.
We want to emphasize the values that a new vision of work and the economy requires in the new conditions of Cuban socialism.
¿Cuáles han sido los presupuestos de donde hemos partido? Desde la economía social y solidaria, se plantea que el trabajo es parte de la vida, no es un simple medio para el fin de vivir. Por ello es importante que sea valorado desde su centralidad en la vida, que el individuo se reconozca en él y se desarrollen relaciones efectivas en su desarrollo. El trabajo se piensa entonces como un hacer útil y en dependencia de ello hay que consolidar acciones para desalienar el proceso, porque el punto de partida para entender el proceso de trabajo no está en la propiedad ni en la gestión, sino en el propio trabajador y en el reconocimiento social que adquiera como resultado de su trabajo. Hay que pensar entonces más profundamente en la centralidad del trabajo.
So what have been the assumptions from where we have started? From the social and solidarity economy, it is stated that work is part of life. Therefore, it is important that it be evaluated from its centrality in life, that the individual recognizes himself in it, and effective relationships occur in work's development. Work is then thought as a useful doing, and depending on it, action must be consolidated to avoid alienation of the process. Because the starting point to understand the work process is not in ownership or management, but in the worker himself, and in the social recognition that they acquire as the result of their work. We must think more deeply about the centrality of work.
De esta forma, desde la red se desestiman criterios mercantilistas con relación al trabajo y se promueven formas que apuestan más por la cooperación, la sostenibilidad y el reconocimiento de actividades tan necesarias como el trabajo doméstico y de cuidados.
This way, from the network, mercantilist criteria in relation to work is disestimated, and ways that are more committed to cooperation, sustainability, and the recognition of activities as necessary as domestic and care work are promoted.
Quiero enfatizar aquí en la relación que se ha establecido entre la red de trabajo y la red feminista, a la cual también pertenecemos. ¿En qué sentido se establece esta relación?
I want to emphasize here the relationship that has been established between the Work Network and the Feminist Network, to which we also belong. But in what sense is this relationship established?
A partir de los estudios sobre la economía feminista, corroboramos que ésta se relaciona con los estudios sobre trabajo por su propuesta de ampliar las nociones de economía y trabajo utilizadas. El mercado ha sido capaz de reducir la capacidad analítica de los individuos respecto a la comprensión de lo económico solo al análisis de los procesos de producción y distribución mercantil. La mirada que se exige en este sentido es la de entender la economía en tanto generadora de recursos para satisfacer necesidades y creadora de condiciones para una vida digna de ser vivida. Se parte del presupuesto de que el objetivo primordial de un sistema económico debe ser la vida de las personas, una vida digna donde las necesidades humanas estén resueltas y prevalezca el respeto a la naturaleza.
From the studies on feminist economics, we corroborate that this is related to the studies on work, due to this proposal to expand the notions of economics and work use. The marker has been able to reduce the analytical capacity of individuals regarding the understanding of economy only to the analysis of the processes of production and commercial distribution. The view that is required in this sense is to understand economy as a generator of resources to satisfy needs, and as a creator of conditions for life worth of living. It starts from the assumption that the primary objective of an economic system should be people's life, a dignified life where human needs are solved and respect for nature prevails.
Para la economía feminista, la vida solo tendrá sentido si incluye a toda la sociedad respetando la diversidad, discutiendo qué tipos de bienes nunca deberían dejarse en manos del mercado, la energía, el agua, etc., sino en gestión comunitaria u otras fórmulas colectivas, debatiendo nuevas estructuras de producción y consumo, respetuosas con el medio ambiente y destinadas a la satisfacción de las necesidades humanas.
For feminist economics, life will only have meaning if it includes the whole society respecting diversity, discussing what type of goods should never be left in the hands of the market. For example, energy, water, among others. But it should be controlled by community management or other collective formulas, debating new production and consumption structures, respectful to the environment and aimed at satisfying needs.
Construir, además, otra idea de la vida que merece ser vivida, con una noción del buen convivir, que haga rupturas centrales con la noción de bienestar y éxito que se tiene actualmente, y donde el trabajo adquiera la centralidad que merece.
We must also build another view of life worth living, with the notion of good coexistence, that makes central breaks with the notion of well-being and success that we currently have, and where work acquires the centrality it deserves.
En la actualidad, muchos consideran que la sociedad cubana evoluciona hacia la deconstrucción de la economía social y solidaria, y que los actores económicos sienten cada vez menos responsabilidad con la sociedad y el entorno, corriendo el riesgo de que la codicia y el mezquino interés personal arrebaten valores sociales como la bondad, generosidad, la compasión, la cooperación, la empatía y la comunidad.
Nowadays, many consider that human society is evolving towards the deconstruction of the social and solidarity economy, and that economic actors feel less and less responsibility towards society and the environment, exposing themselves to the risk that greed and petty personal interests eliminate social values like kindness, generosity, compassion, cooperation, empathy, and community.
Se insiste en la propiedad socialista de todo el pueblo sobre los medios de producción fundamentales, como la forma principal en la economía nacional, pero se reconoce, entre otras, la propiedad cooperativa, la propiedad mixta, la privada, de personas naturales o jurídicas cubanas o totalmente extranjeras, todas interactuando de conjunto.
It insists on the socialist property of all the people over the fundamental means of production as the main form in the national economy, but it recognizes, among others, the cooperative mix and private property of Cuban or totally foreign natural or legal persons, all interacting together.
Es lógico entonces que crezcan los desafíos emancipatorios que entraña esta actualización, por sus impactos desiguales en la estructura social cubana, y que la democracia participativa y protagónica pase a ser un asunto de interés prioritario, sin alejarse de la producción de alternativas que puedan ser confrontadas a cada paso.
It is logical then that the emancipatory challenges that this update entails grow due to his unequal impacts on the Cuban social structure, and that participatory and protagonist democracy becomes a matter of priority interest, without moving away from the production of alternatives that can be confronted on every step.
A partir de las experiencias en 4 cooperativas de La Habana y algunas en Santa Clara, se hizo visible que la apelación a la economía social y solidaria es una manera de reconocer y hacer visible la economía diversa realmente existente, con sus múltiples relaciones, lógicas, tensiones y protagonistas.
Based on the experiences in 4 cooperatives in Havana and in Santa Clara as well, it became visible that the appeal to the social and solidarity economy is a way of recognizing and making visible the truly diverse economy with its multiple relationships, logics, tensions, and protagonists.
Asumir la cooperación y la solidaridad como cualidades para el trabajo en las nuevas formas de gestión y propiedad que se están generando en Cuba es una tarea en el orden del día de la sociedad cubana actual, para lo que se hace cada vez más necesario empoderar y descentralizar las atribuciones de los gobiernos locales con la participación directa de la población en la toma de decisiones sobre los problemas que afectan directamente a los ciudadanos y crear una institucionalidad que responda a estos objetivos para que se puedan combinar favorablemente las particularidades del desarrollo de carácter sostenible con las grandes decisiones estratégicas del país, realizadas a partir de los órganos centrales de dirección de la economía.
Assuming cooperation and solidarity as qualities for work in the new forms of management and ownership that are being generated in Cuba is a task on the agenda of today's society, for which it is increasingly necessary to empower and decentralize the attributions of local government with the direct participation of the population in the decision-making processes when it comes to problems that directly affect citizens. It is also essential to create an institutionality that responds to these objectives so that the particularities of the development of sustainable character could be combined with the country's major strategic decisions made from the central management body of the economy.
Es importante entonces referir los principios que se destacan del desarrollo local. Primero, el enfoque integral y sistémico del desarrollo. Segundo, el aprovechamiento y ampliación de los canales de participación. Tercero, la identificación y movilización de los potenciales productivos locales, así como la gestión del conocimiento, la innovación y la transferencia de tecnologías.
It is important to refer to the principles that stand out in local development. First, the comprehensive and systemic approach to development. Second, the use of and expansion of participation channels. Third, the identification and mobilization of local productive potential, as well as the management of knowledge, innovation, and technology transfer.
El trabajo solidario y cooperado permite además reconocer las formas de producción y trabajo que se organizan para la subsistencia y la reproducción. Algunas de largo trayecto como la comunidad o el taller artesanal, otras más recientes como las cooperativas y las recién vistas como entidad económica, como es el caso de los hogares, el trabajo doméstico, el trabajo de cuidados. Aquí se muestra además el vínculo con los presupuestos de la economía feminista que ya habíamos mencionado.
The solidarity and cooperative work also allows to recognize the forms of production and work that are organized for subsistence and reproduction. Some of them had a long journey, such as the community or the artisan worship. Others are more recent, such as cooperative, and some are recently seen as an economic entity, as in the case of domestic work and care work. The link with the assumptions of the aforementioned feminist economics is shown here.
No debe perderse de vista la necesidad de trabajar en todas las formas y vías posibles que permitan contrarrestar la pérdida de valores de solidaridad y cooperación generadas en la actualidad. Una de estas formas es la tendencia a trabajar en redes para posibilitar una optimización de las capacidades y posibilidades de todo tipo que puedan estarse gestando desde el interior de la sociedad cubana.
The need to work in every possible way to counteract the loss of values of solidarity and cooperation generated today should not be forgotten. One of the forms is a tendency to work in networks to enable an optimization of every capacity and possibility that may be developing from within society.
Es en este sentido que enfatizamos en la actividad y sinergia de las redes de cooperación y con ellas los centenares de proyectos para la acción transformadora que se están gestando en Cuba, que posibilitan en gran medida contrarrestar estos efectos negativos que ya se observan con la implementación de las nuevas formas de gestión anteriormente mencionadas y brindan la posibilidad de crear nuevos valores dentro del proceso de trabajo.
It is in this sense that we emphasize the activity and synergy of cooperation networks, and with them the hundreds of projects for transformative action that have been developing in Cuba, and which make it possible to a large extent to counteract the negative effects that are already observed with the implementation of the aforementioned new forms of management. Those projects offer the possibility of creating new values within the work process.
En el caso de la contribución de nuestra universidad a la red desde Villa Clara, se ha logrado un impacto a partir de la elaboración del Directorio de Experiencias de Trabajo Solidario y Cooperado en las nuevas formas de gestión en la provincia, donde se evidencian los avances de las nuevas formas de gestión cooperativa.
In the case of the contribution of our university to the network from Villa Clara, an impact has been achieved from the preparation of the Directory of Experiences of Solidarity and Cooperative Work in the new forms of management of the province, where the progress of the new forms of cooperative management were evidenced.
Se han realizado talleres donde se han expuesto criterios y experiencias alrededor del problema de la cooperación y reproducción de la vida humana, lo que puede facilitar la participación y toma de conciencia de las comunidades alrededor de la búsqueda de mecanismos para el desarrollo local.
Holding workshops where criteria and experience have been exposed around the problem of cooperation and reproduction of human life facilitates the participation and awareness of communities around the search for mechanisms for local development.
Se profundiza en el trabajo cooperativo y en las formas de gestión para llevar a vías de hecho estas nuevas formas de trabajo cooperado. Pero no solo el impacto puede medirse por intercambio de experiencias y metodologías que indudablemente han servido para afianzar y consolidar el trabajo, sino también por la reconstrucción y construcción colectiva de elementos propios de la gestión, por lo que pueden ya exhibirse términos y conceptualizaciones que ayudan a la materialización de algunas acciones cooperativas en pos de la sostenibilidad.
Cooperative work and management forms are explored in order to implement these new forms of cooperative work. But impact cannot only be measured by the exchange of experiences and methodologies, which undoubtedly has served to consolidate the work, but also by the collective construction of elements of management, so so that terms and conceptualizations that help to the materialization of some cooperative actions in pursuit of sustainability are shown.
¿A qué conclusiones nos ha llevado todas estas experiencias?
What conclusions have these experiences led us to?
La cooperación y la solidaridad como cualidades del trabajo en las nuevas formas de gestión y propiedad posibilitarán formas de organización del trabajo que permiten contrarrestar la pérdida de valores generadas en la actualidad. Nuevas prácticas laborales desde una perspectiva más solidaria y emancipatoria. Encontrar alternativas frente a la despolitización y el conservadurismo social que estimulan la apatía y el egoísmo. Implementación de políticas y prácticas sociales más equitativas, dignificantes y humanistas. Implementar exitosamente las reformas en curso dentro de la economía cubana para que no asuman derroteros contrarios a los ideales del proyecto social cubano. Generar y garantizar puestos de trabajo que permitan a la población acceder a los bienes y servicios básicos. Responder a las aspiraciones de acrecentar el sentido de pertenencia colectiva al proyecto socialista. La visión de trabajo solidario y cooperado también debe imprimirse al sector estatal e empresarial para elevar su eficiencia productiva y su eficacia social. La visión de trabajo solidario y cooperado tiene un vínculo con la perspectiva de la economía feminista en tanto persigue un reconocimiento del trabajo más allá del empleo, en la atención a actividades laborales que se desarrollan en la esfera reproductiva, en el trabajo de cuidados y en el reconocimiento de una visión del desarrollo cultural y sostenible.
So these conclusions are that cooperation and solidarity as quality of work in the new forms of management and ownership will enable new forms of work organization that make it possible to counteract the loss of values currently generated. Also new labor practices from a more supportive and emancipatory perspective. Define alternatives to social conservatism that stimulate apathy and selfishness. The implementation of more dignifying and humanistic policies and social practices. To successfully implement the ongoing reforms within the Cuban economy so that they do not take a course contrary to the ideals of the Cuban social project. To generate and guarantee jobs that allow the population to access basic goods and services. To respond to the aspirations of increasing the sense of collective belonging to the socialist project. The vision of solidarity and cooperative work, which should also be printed on the state business sector to increase productive efficiency and social effectiveness. The vision of solidarity and cooperative work is linked to the perspective of feminist economics, as it seeks to recognize work beyond employment, in attention to work activities that are developed in the reproductive sphere, in care work, in the recognition of a vision of cultural and sustainable development. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, dear colleagues. Very interesting report. Have you any questions?
Just comment.
I think yes. I think we can wait in a lot of questions.
Yeah, just comment. I think some of the thesis of the presenter could be tomorrow put in our conclusion of the conference, that everybody, every student, every professor, and every researcher, disregarding the nation, disregarding the social state of the and political state of the country, has the rights, the human rights, to have a high education, to have the ability to develop himself and to do social projects disregarding where he is. I think it is just slogan number one, which could be put under our conference. Thank you.
Yes, I would also like to make a comment. First of all, I don't know if you need to translate at Ludmila speech.
Yes, I already did.
Okay, sorry for interrupting. But first of all, I would like to thank you and to congratulate for your presentation and your research and work. And also as a comment that we also here in various parts of Brazil, we also developed local research on local development, and also with this collaboration and solidarity goal. And it would be really nice if we could get in touch and try to develop something together. I also saw here that Professor Gladys from UNIS also asked for the presentation. So I think most of our institutions that are part of our network will be interested in this work. Thank you.
So just a comment that it's a pleasure. It would be a pleasure for her to participate and share these experiences and collaborate with each other. So thank you.
Sorry. Any problem with communication?
Could you hear, Doctor?
I'm not here.
Right now, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We hear you. Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
So, dear colleagues, if we have no questions, we can continue our presentation, and let me give the floor to our co-organizer, Dr. Ginli Duran.
Okay, good morning for all our speakers. Good morning, Maria Edward and Ludmila and Marcia. Congratulations on our speaker. We have a very motivator presentation today. We spoke yesterday and we are speaking today about education and about the importance of cultural factors in it. Cross-cultural education in a distance education models, networks to cross-country education. We want to propose you some ideas about cultural heritage and cooperative management at the communitarian level as a form of collective education in its values. We wish to share in a video the main ideas of our researcher project through the collaboration management of their patrimonial goods, and we can speak and answer your questions after. Good morning. The international standard recognizes the value of cultural heritage as a reference for historical memory and identity. They specify the responsibility of the states for their protection. Therefore, the management and conservation of heritage is a relevant issue on the agendas of many countries, according to the demand of UNESCO. However, it has been fundamentally raised from a technical and business approach as economic resources. At the same time, the strong development of tourism impacts on historic cities. The touristic development is generating employment and economic income. However, there are significant negative effects such as the displacement of population and original functions due to the increase in land rent. Also, cultural banalization. This supposes a contradiction with theory and practice. In addition, in many cases, ill management becomes a form of social exclusion, especially in underdeveloped countries where there is an increase in gentrification, touristification, and cultural trivialization. Also, there is a fragmentation between the preserved historical city and the modern city or the peripheries. To assume heritage management as an innovative activity means overcoming the vision of heritage as the old, as the monumental or the static. It means considering it as a dynamic event in a permanent construction. A dynamic view of heritage must be emphasized. The recognition of the change from historical to cultural heritage, the dialectical relationship between tangible and intangible heritage, the expansion of the physical and spatial notion of cultural heritage, the local and global contradiction, the transfer of dominion over the rules and patrimonial practices, the change in the formalization of cultural heritage, the transformation of the role of communities, the recognition of the political and ethical dimension, and the recognition of cultural heritage business as part of the cultural and touristic industry. An updated view of heritage management focuses on the values and practices of community participation. This is associated with the importance of the developing of heritage knowledge, education, communication, and social responsibilities. However, heritage management continues to be a technical and elitist practice. The study of the participation of host communities in the management of historical urban centers reveals the status of cultural heritage. European and Latin American authors consider heritage practices as fight spaces for the social legitimation. The community's participation in the management of their heritage must be considered as an empowering alternative. We must also study their socio-institutional framework and the local values which have been established as common norms of behavior. From the ontological and legal point of view, heritage refers to a collective property, and it recognizes the access to culture as a particularly cultural right. However, the deficits in participation are manifested in all areas of management, including the formalization, legitimation, and valorization. Many times, heritage sites are selected without consulting the communities. Then they have little or none of the benefits that are generated from their use as economical resource. The recently deceased Eusebio Leal Spengler, a Havana historian, insisted on the importance of restoring the continent and its contents. He referred the importance of restoring the human being and the community's life through the restoration of buildings and cities. In that sense, heritage management would become a socially oriented innovation practice in which the goal is not heritage or tourism. The real goal of heritage restoration and management is human being by himself. The study carried out in Havana, Remedios, Trinidad, and Ciego de Ávila cities demonstrated the deficiencies that still exist, even though Cuba constitutes an important reference in the region. It is also an example of the possibilities that exist for the development of innovative cooperative heritage management practices. Let us analyze the case of the conservation of the architectural heritage of the modern movement with a residential function in the city of Santa Clara by Maria Carla Reyes Gallán.
Good afternoon. Today I would like to present this case of study from the city of Santa Clara. This city is located in the center of the country with more than 3,300 years of history. Has several buildings from the modern movement with high artistic and historical values. Many of its most representative woods are concentrated in the nerve center of the city and have residential function. Each one of them contains undeniable individual values, but their appreciation as a whole integrated body reveals a social testimonial potential capable of enriching the narrative of a little studied period in the history of the city. At the same time, proposing the management of this heritage from its values as a whole poses a challenge expressed in terms of community development. The issue is not only about management heritage for its restoration and conservation. It implies promoting the appropriation of assets by the member of its career community. The search for participation seeks to achieve common goals and strengthen horizontal links based on social cooperation. In terms of heritage management, cooperation is expressed in the network relationships established within social practice by intra and extra-communitary actors. Both groups play a fundamental role, and their articulation is an essential condition of any heritage management process. Cooperation involves both the assumption of common goals and the distribution of responsibilities for achievement of these goals. In these terms, the aforementioned cooperation is characterized by two essential aspects: common shared ends by various groups of subjects and the distribution of costs among the participants. In the same way, social responsibility and trust based on the generation of mutual expectations of exchange intervene in the process of cooperation. The case of study focuses on the Escambray district, an area of the city where the largest number of houses belonging to these styles are found, several of which constitute its most representative exponents. In order to carry out this study, the limitations and potentialities for the implementation of cooperative forms of heritage management have been evaluated. For this, a series of questionnaires were applied to members of the career community, as well as interviews with formal and informal leaders of the community and specialists from the institution focused on heritage conservation. During this study, a series of limitations were revealed regarding the current state of management of residential assets of the modern movement heritage. These limitations are: there is an institutional vacuum in terms of responsibility for heritage management. The work of the institution focused on the methodological advice. Management focused on goods and not on the career community, and there are no mechanisms to enhance financial management. There is no awareness of the potentialities of heritage management in the modern movement. The view of heritage as the old prevails, and recent heritage is not taken into account. Nowadays, there is a lack of perception of the risks to which the heritage of modern movement is exposed. Also, the relationships between institutions are scarce. There is no communication in the institutional level when it comes to heritage management. There is no evidence of collective work. Also, there is a lack of knowledge about the values of assets of the residential heritage of modern movement. There is a lack of awareness of the issues of the conservation and residential heritage assets in the modern movement. There are no evidence of actions on or links between the members of the host community There are no evidence of action or links between the members of the career community that favor the management of the residential heritage of the modern movement. Summarizing, there is no evidence of cooperative management practice, but in the same way, the studies revealed a series of potentialities around the current state of management of residential assets of the modern movement heritage. These potentialities are the existence of a register of cultural assets for architectural heritage of the modern movement that, although incomplete, contain many of the most representative work. Also, the recognition of these values of the residential heritage on the modern movement by institutions was evidenced. The availability of multiple investigations at the Universidad Central Marta Abreu de las Villas on the architectural heritage of the modern movement and its residential assets. Also, the presence of several educational institutions that could contribute to heritage education. The existence of productive housing in the area, the perception of the career community that the tourist heritage management is possible, the existence of cultural institutions in the area, and the proximity to historical and touristic interesting places. To conclude, from a traditional scientific point of view, these limitations will constitute a problem, but from a view of social innovation, we see it as the opportunity for social transformation and development. Taking into account these views, alternatives have been evaluated in order to generate social innovation incubators based on socially and economical sustainable business models. Heritage management, articulated with tourism, constitutes the basis of that process.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions, please? No questions. No questions. Hello? Anybody hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
I hear you.
So, dear colleagues, we're waiting your comments, your questions. So, dear colleagues, if we have no questions, let me suggest you to make a short break, just 5 minutes. And after short break, we start pitch presentation. What do you think?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. But
5 minutes, drink water. Yeah.
Yes. But we need to discuss order pitches.
According to,
Очередность.
I think let's do it according to the pitches listed on our site.
Yes, yes, okay. In our site.
Yeah.
So okay. Just break 5 minutes. Is it enough?
Yes.
5 minutes break. Thank you. Так, наши студенты, вы хоть что-то спрашиваете хотя бы по-русски? Вот смотрите, здесь сколько наших студентов, и никто не спрашивает. Я вас не слышу. Микрофон. Микрофон-то включите.
Я говорю, уже хорошо, что слушают.
А, ну а я не знаю, может они его взяли, оставили и ушли, хотя бы голос-то подали. Вот Валерия Хинштейн, Ирина Смирнова. Ну, вы здесь, хоть голос-то подайте уж, простите.
Да мы слушаем, просто мы же не все английским так хорошо владеем.
А вы по-русски спрашиваете, Артур? О, Любовь Сабирзяновна, приветствую вас.
Нет, просто нужно сначала понять, о чем говорят, вот, а потом спрашивать уже хотя бы по-русски.
Ну, вы какие-то умные вопросы придумываете, дискутируете.
Да.
Например...
Потом, знаете, Андрей, по-английски есть пословица «practice makes the best». То есть, чем больше будете упражняться, тем лучше получится. С языком оно так.
Хорошо, попробуем.
Вот у нас молодые совсем подтянулись.
Да.
Now we have a small girl. She's going to be a student probably. A future student.
Yes. Любовь Сабирзяновна, which country your daughter prefer? Russia, Brazil, Cuba?
I think Russia.
Russia.
Ну, мы учим английский, да, Маша? Мы слушаем внимательно и практикуемся в английском, но вопросы задавать я вот, честно говоря, стесняюсь.
А что стесняться? Это ведь для того и проводятся международные конференции, чтобы ребята говорили, все обсуждали, потом на какие-то заявки на гранты выходили. Вот мы же сейчас, например, совершенно понятно, что выходим на заявку гранта, на грант с этими вот, с бразильскими коллегами по миграции, с Кубой будем обсуждать. Вот. Так что все совершенно реально. А международные исследования какие интересные ресурсы дают. Вот прям реально огромные ресурсы. Это же интересно очень. Ну, опыт огромный.
Да. Идеи для проектов интересные, да.